I never imagined I'd get tangled up with a neighborhood dictator, but sometimes life throws you a curveball that leaves your jaw on the floor. My name's Ethan, and this is the wild, almost unbelievable tale of how my neighbor Laura, the self-proclaimed queen of our homeowners association, decided my front door was her personal bike rack and how her arrogance led to her spectacular downfall. It all started on a hectic Tuesday morning. I was already running late for a big work presentation, juggling my laptop bag, keys, and a steaming coffee mug when I tried to bolt out my front door. Except it wouldn't open, not even a crack beyond a few inches. Something was jamming it from the outside. I shoved harder, thinking maybe the door was warped, but it didn't budge. Annoyed, I wedged my head through the tiny gap to see what was going on. I had to blink twice to believe it. A beat-up, bubblegum pink bicycle was chained not just to the railing of my front stoop, but right to my doorknob. A heavy-duty chain looped around both, locking my door tighter than a bank vault. As I stood there, half stuck and dumbfounded, I spotted a woman on the sidewalk, arms crossed, staring at me with a smirk that screamed trouble. She was in her late 40s, sporting a crisp blonde bob that practically shouted, "I need to speak to your super VY soar," and designer sunglasses perched on her head despite the gray, cloudy sky. "Excuse me," I called, forcing a polite tone despite my blood starting to boil. "Is this your bike? I can't get out of my house." She sauntered over, her posture dripping with entitlement. "Yes, that's my bike," she said, her voice implying I was the one bothering her. I had nowhere else to put it. I pointed to the bike rack 20 feet away in our townhouse complex's common area, completely empty. "There's a bike rack right there," I said, keeping my cool. She waved her hand like she was swatting a fly. "Those are always full." They weren't. I could see the rack was bare as a desert. "Look," I said, my patience thinning, "I need to get to work. Can you unlock your bike so I can leave?" She tilted her head, flashing a condescending smile that made my skin crawl. "This area is communal property. I have every right to use it." I blinked, stunned. "This is my front door," I said, feeling like I was reasoning with a toddler. "Not a bike rack." She scoffed. "I don't see any sign saying I can't park here." My jaw clenched. "If you don't move it, I'll have to call the police." That's when her smirk widened into something smug and sinister. "Go ahead," she taunted, flicking her wrist. "I'm the HOA." She spat those 3 letters like they were a royal decree, then turned and strutted off, Leah VYing me trapped in my own home. I had to climb out my back, window coffee spilling, dignity crumbling to make it to my meeting. Little did I know, this was just the opening act of Laura's reign of terror. I've been renting my townhouse in Maple Grove for 6 months, keeping my head down. I mowed my lawn, hid my trash bins, and avoided trouble. I'd heard whispers about Laura, the new HOA president, who'd leave snarky notes for things like a non-approved welcome mat or Christmas lights lingering a day too long. But I never thought I'd be her next target. That night, after crawling back through my window like a burglar, I scribbled a polite note. "Please remove your bicycle from my door. It's a safety hazard and blocks my entrance." "Thank you." I tucked it in her bike's basket, hoping she'd see reason. Big mistake. The next morning, the bike was still there, and my note, crumpled and tossed onto my mat like trash. I'd had enough. I climbed out the window again, marched 3 doors down to Laura's unit, and knocked. When she opened the door, her face soured like she'd bitten a lemon. "Yes," she snapped. "Hi, I'm Ethan from 3 doors down," I said, keeping my tone even. "I left a note about your bike. It's still blocking my door, and I need to use my entrance." She leaned against the doorframe, smirking. "That entryway's communal property. Your lease only covers the inside. The stoop belongs to the HOA. But it's stopping me from getting in and out," I said, clinging to logic. She raised an eyebrow. "You've got a back door, don't you? Use it." She started to shut the door, but I raised my hand, not touching it, just signaling I wasn't done. "Look, I don't want trouble, but blocking a doorway is a fire hazard. It's illegal." Her eyes narrowed as she straightened up. "Are you threatening me?" she hissed, her voice jumping an octave. "No, I'm stating a fact," I said calmly. "Please move your bike to the rack." She jabbed a finger at me. "If you touch my property, I'll fine you due law $500 for tampering with HOA installations." Then she slammed the door in my face. I stood there, reeling. Could she really find me for MOVYing a bike chain to my door? I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to risk it. For 2 more days, I crawled through my window, over my kitchen counter, like some clumsy cat burglar. My suits were wrinkled, my colleagues were whispering, and explaining that a middle-aged woman had hijacked my front door felt too insane to admit. By day 3, I was done. When I got home and saw that pink monstrosity still chained to my knob, I called the non-emergency police line. The dispatcher promised an officer would come by. I sat on my back patio, sipping a soda, picturing Laura's smug face when the cops showed up. 20 minutes later, I heard shouting out front. I rounded the corner to find 2 officers, a man and a woman, both seasoned and unfazed, studying the bike, while Laura gestured wildly, talking over them. "This is HOA business," she yelled. "You have no jurisdiction here. This is private property." The female officer, calm as stone, said, "Ma'am, blocking an entryway VY city code, HOA or not." Laura's face reddened. "Do you know who I am? I'm the president of this HOA. I decide what's allowed." The male officer turned to me. "Sir, is this your residence?" Before I could answer, Laura cut in. "He's just a renter. He's been tampering with HOA property, and I'm fining him." Then things got wild. Laura stormed off, returning with bolt cutters, marching past us to my mailbox. "If he thinks he can complain about my property," she fumed, clamping the cutters around the mailbox pole. "Let's see how he likes it when I remove his unapproved mailbox." The female officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, put that tool down. Tampering with mailboxes is a federal offense." Laura froze but doubled down. "This is HOA property." The male officer's voice sharpened. "We need documentation of your HOA authority." Panic flickered across Laura's face. "It's inside. Everyone knows I'm president." That's when Mr. Lee, an elderly neighbor who'd lived here for 15 years, shuffled over. "Officers," he said politely. I was on the old HOA board. "We haven't had an election in 6 months. The last board dissolved. No one elected Laura." Laura's face drained of color. "That's a lie. I've been collecting dues, enforcing rules." Mr. Lee raised an eyebrow. "Collecting dues? Without a board or treasury? Where's that money going?" The officers exchanged a look that said this was no longer just about a bike. The female officer turned to Laura. "Ma'am, remove your bike, or we'll do it for you." Laura clutched the bolt cutters, defiant. "I will not. This is my property." The male officer stepped in. "Your violating City Ordinance 212.5 for obstructing entryways, and possibly statutes on fraud." Laura snapped. She raised the bolt cutters and screamed. "None of you get how hard I work to keep this place together. Without me, it'd collapse." The officers moved fast. The woman disarmed her, and the man cuffed her, saying, "Ma'am, you're under arrest for obstruction and disorderly conduct." As he read her rights, Laura ranted about taking this to the Supreme Court, demanding badge numbers. The cops called for their own bolt cutters, and minutes later, my door was free. Laura was led to the cruiser, still shouting about persecution. Neighbors peeked out, and Mr. Lee filled them in. Turns out, Laura had been terrorizing everyone, slapping fake fines, locking her bike to random porches, citing rules that didn't exist. Within a week, we held a real HOA meeting, elected Mr. Lee as president, and banned Laura from ever holding office again. Her legal troubles? Worse than anyone expected. The fake dues and fines led to fraud charges, plus disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. In court, she got 6 months probation, 200 hours of community service VYC, and had to repay everyone she'd scammed. When she shrieked, "I was just protecting property values," the judge slapped on a DO Law 1,000 contempt fine. Her stunned silence was almost worth the whole ordeal. What would you have done if Laura chained her bike to your door? Was Ethan too patient, or should he have cut the chain himself? Should the neighbors have stopped her sooner, or was her arrest the only way to end her tyranny? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you loved this crazy story, and subscribe for more wild tales.